This is a short explanation of some of the major events in World War II, with a couple creative liberties added in. It's set to a funky beat just for fun. Okay, so, World War II was pretty much started by this guy, Adolf Hitler. No, not that Hitler, this one, the one without the sarcastic t-shirt. Anyways, Hitler rose to power through the Nazi Party, progressing to the office of the Führer, and transitioning Germany into a fascist government through legal means. The Nazi Party helped bring Hitler to power through propaganda surrounding the Reichstag fire, blaming the whole incident on the dirty communists, their main opposition. This allowed the Nazis to take over the German government and vote to disallow other parties. They then put Hitler in charge of the nation at large. Once in charge of the nation, Hitler led Germany on a warpath. He first moved into Czechoslovakia, taking the Sudetenland. The other countries at the Munich Conference, afraid of another war, allowed him to have it, thus making them look something like this. Now, this would be normal to France, but Great Britain felt somewhat ashamed of backing down. However, they believed they'd achieved peace. The Germans quickly showed that they were not as worried about achieving this peace. They made the Nazi-Soviet non-aggression pact with Stalin and the Soviet Union, and then promptly invaded Poland on September 1st, 1939. The Polish, hardly known for their military prowess, were quickly overpowered by the German blitzkrieg. Perhaps if the Polish had spent less time worrying about this moose, and more time about this invasion force, they may have fared better. Moose, blitzkrieg, moose, blitzkrieg. But honestly, they were fighting tanks with the cavalry. The Polish had no chance. With the invasion of Poland, Great Britain and France declared war on Germany. Expecting an immediate attack on their border, France was confused to find that no attack came for a long period of time. Then the Germans began the blitzkrieg once again, attacking France. Now the French weren't prepared, but they thought they were prepared. They had built the Maginot Line after World War I. This thing. It was made up of bunkers and walls like this. This is Maginot, the man who proposed it. Now, had he spent less time on his mustache and more time on his research, he may have made the realization that ground fortifications are little defense against the German air raids, an essential part of the blitzkrieg orchestrated by the Luftwaffe. Not this. These. Although, the French probably would have surrendered to a waffle too. Furthermore, the border with Belgium was not well fortified. The Germans moved into France, and as we often see in history, the French flag quickly changed from this to this. So much for liberté, égalité, and fraternité. Hitler, however, did make the mistake of creating a two-front war, turning on Stalin. The Battle of Stalingrad became a turning point in the war, as the Soviets began to advance toward Berlin. The other problem that arose for the Germans was the intervention of the US. Once bombed at Pearl Harbor by the Japanese, the US entered the war against the Axis powers. Entering France on D-Day at Normandy, the Allied powers began their advance towards Berlin as well. It's reasonable to assume that Chuck Norris may have been involved in this attack on the fortified beaches, destroying all fascists in his path with his roundhouse kicks. But I personally think it's more reasonable to assume that Zucchelli was involved. I imagine Hitler's reaction to all this was something like this. Mussolini in Italy made contributions to the Axis war effort as well, but Mussolini was removed from power shortly after these events, leaving him looking something like this. The Soviets were the first to reach Berlin, where Hitler was found dead. He had shot himself to avoid capture. The rest of the Allied powers showed up slightly later. This brought an end to the war in Europe, but not World War II. The US continued to fight Japan. Eventually, they elected to drop a nuclear bomb on Hiroshima. And then when the Japanese did not surrender, they chose to drop a bomb again on Nagasaki. The Japanese then surrendered, and that marked the end of the war. At this point, America emerged as a world power. Uncle Sam was so happy that he learned how to Dougie. But the most important thing from all of this shows that Winston Churchill knew what he was doing all along.